ready. All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Board of Supervisors meeting. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yeah, so we need to have a hearing at the beginning of the meeting on Ordinance O-19-01. This was, it says in the agenda, it's adopting a code of ordinance. This is the wireless communication facilities ordinance. Is anybody here who wants to make a comment or ask a question about that proposed ordinance?
That could be related to the question I wanted to ask.
Okay.
I didn't know what the ordinance, I hadn't read it yet.
Oh,
It's
okay.
not an informed question. I was waiting for public comment if you want specific on this ordinance.
Well, they might enact the ordinance. Is that okay if they do
I
that
think I'm in
before?
favor of it, so I don't object to that.
Okay.
I did have questions about what are we doing about, okay.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm going to do something.
You're going to ask about Wi-Fi, wireless.
I'm going to ask about wireless and more of an update, because I don't know what progress we've made, the county has made, and the governor's new initiative recently announced. How can we take advantage of that? That's the gist of the question. So the ordinance may be already getting there.
Not necessarily this particular ordinance, but it may.
Okay, so I'll wait for public comments. Go ahead with the ordinance.
Well, seeing no public comment, I'd say it's up to you all to make a motion to approve the ordinance if you're so inclined.
Is there a copy of the ordinance here?
Not there. There's,
Thank you. Sorry.
well,
It's probably been on the website for months. I just didn't. Oh, it's a big one, all right.
Is there a motion to approve the ordinance?
Yes, I'll make the motion.
Second?
I'll second the motion.
Any further discussion?
None.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimous. Okay, now I'll call to order the regular Board of Supervisors meeting. We've already done the pledge. Public comment versus Catherine. Will you come up to the...
Yeah, this is a question and a request for update. I always go back to the Greg 2025 meetings experience that I had, and I remember the kind of narrowing conclusion of that toward the end on what we consider the township sort of major needs. And higher on that list, maybe the highest, was communication. And and we've done things regarding that since, achievement since, the new website, for example. But I remember in the discussion, we were very aware of the disparities in internet access in the township. You know, different valleys having different amounts of access. So and then with that background, and having read in the Gazette, that's all I know is what I read in the Gazette, about Governor Wolf's initiative to expand broadband to more areas, I came with the question, do we have anything moving, and it seems as if we do, on trying to expand wireless in this case, throughout the township. But I wanted to ask too, and would love an update on that further. I spoke with Chris earlier and said he could bring an update forward if we wanted to. People like myself who don't know where we stand on the actual on-the-ground getting service out to people. And then the advocacy, if there is an opportunity for us in the governor's new initiatives, I think I read that municipalities are going to need to take initiative to ask for what it is they need. Again, that's all I know. So if we have any interest in that or knowledge of that, I'd love to hear what we're thinking about that, and just keep us in touch with what the township does to gain the advantage of what the governor's apparently going to try to expand the efforts. So that was a question and a comment and an advocacy. Can I ask Chris to come up and give us an update on the practicalities that he knows about?
Do you want to do that now or during planning commission?
Yeah, I can do it during the planning commission.
Okay, fine. Okay, thank you. Maybe everybody else in the room knows about it.
Thank you. Don?
question, so we had a lawsuit, so if you covered this before, didn't we just have a hearing for one of the lawsuits from the right to know request? Yes. Did we ever find out, did I miss that? The judgment or what? The one court hearing we just had, didn't we just have one?
We've had a number of them.
Okay, so can you
Right,
give us a
I don't always
rundown?
remember off
A
the top of
rundown
my
of
head.
what has happened and where we are with those, because I know those were big. Yes? Or is it
I
here
will later
and-
in the meeting.
Okay,
Okay.
okay. Well, I might not be here, but it's recorded, so I will watch it. I have an FFA banquet to go to after this, so. Question about town halls. I know we talked about, it was discussed, and you guys talked about maybe doing town halls with whatever that went out. Are we moving forward with that? Working on some town halls? Can we do that?
That was something that I did want to bring up tonight would be, because a number of other people have asked about it too, would be potentially making either our June or July meeting more of a town hall format
Yeah.
to allow, there were people that were asking about fire company stuff, EMS, so that would give people more of a open conversation, question and answer time. We talked to some different people from those organizations to make sure they're also available to answer questions.
Yeah, because I feel like there's a lot of questions going around. I know people are asking me stuff, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I have no idea. So I think it's good. I think we need some open dialogue. I don't know how everybody else feels, but I think that open dialogue is always good, and an opportunity to ask questions and get questions answered straight from the source rather than everybody asking questions and rumors going around and not knowing exactly what's going on. So I am for that. I'm sure that I'm not the only one in here who would like that type of format. I think that's good. Anytime we can discuss something, I think that's a good thing. And then I know I see the page and a half of right to know requests, which kind of makes my head spin. But where are we with right to know requests? Are you going to cover that tonight at all? And I see there's some new right to know requests coming in. Is this the same stuff kind of being repeated, requested over and over again? Or are there new issues? Are you going to discuss any of that tonight? Or?
Pam will give an update at the right to know.
Okay, great, so if I don't see it. So I'll apologize if I ask some questions and I'm not here to hear the answers. I'll try to find those out then later, so thank you.
On the town hall, the reason I was thinking of either making June or July regular meeting into that format is this way we don't have to advertise and pay money to advertise another meeting. So are you guys open to that? Do you have a preference as to
I'm fine with it.
which month?
No, either one. I'm good with either. Fine, maybe, yeah.
You guys want to do June?
That's fine. Do you want to take a motion?
Yeah, why not?
I'll make that motion then, that we have like a town hall meeting at our next regular meeting.
I'll second the motion.
Any further discussion?
None.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries unanimous. Okay, the end of public comment. Next we have Bob Myers with Hobbaker Engineering regarding signature of memorandum of subdivision.
Yeah, it's actually a memorandum of understanding. Our client's looking at subdividing what was the Spitzer Farm. And kind of the first step in the process is getting the memorandum of understanding on the books, which basically means that the client's going to pay the engineering and review fees. It's a standard document from the county, that the county, the township, and the client all sign. The client agrees to pay all engineer review fees that the township incurs, in reviewing the fee. So that's,
What's happened so far from the planning perspective on this?
we're just getting started. I mean, the owners, they're closing June 3rd. We're starting survey next week. It just, you guys had a meeting, so I figured I'd get it kind of on the books and get it started. I know I got to go to the planning commission and supervisors and all that, so just trying to get one thing checked off, in the process of many at this point.
I spoke with Carrie before the meeting. This was the first time any of us have really heard about it. Do you mind if we take until the next meeting to approve it?
That document's been around for 20 years. I mean, I've been in the industry since '03, and that's a standard county issue, document for subdivision land development.
Yeah.
Okay.
But do you mind if they take some time to look into the subdivision and report back at the next meeting?
Okay. Yeah, that's fine.
You sure?
Well, I mean,
My question is whether that's going to hold anything up, if it's going to unduly impact your client.
well, I mean, I guess, you know, the document's there to, you know, basically just, I don't know. I guess, to me, it doesn't make much sense, but, you know, if that's what you guys wanna do, I don't,
Okay.
you know, that's fine.
That's what I recommend. I agree that the memorandum of understanding itself is, it's a form, but
Should the fee in lieu of be part of the document?
No, it's part of your subdivision ordinance. Zoning ordinance.
part of the issue as well is, I went on the general code website for your new ordinances, and I think part of, it seemed like not all of your ordinances on this had transferred over.
Yeah, we've heard that,
Okay.
you know.
And so I want to make sure I'm looking at the right ordinance.
Okay.
I agree, an MOU on the planning level is not a big deal, but still, there's just a couple of these issues I just need to check off in my mind.
Okay.
And if it's not holding your folks up in any real way,
Well, I
in a
guess, you
serious
know,
way.
no, other than coming back to another meeting, and if you guys are having the town hall next time, I mean, that's gonna be a long meeting to come
Yeah.
to get a signature on a document.
Well, first of all, I don't know that you need to, I mean, we can certainly get it to you. But that's my recommendation.
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we table it till next meeting, so we all have time to look at this. Can we do it in such a way that Bob doesn't need to come back to that meeting? Can we get it to him another way?
Yeah, I mean, I'd be happy if we look it over and like CC you on an email,
Yeah.
saying it looks good to me, and, you know, at that point, the discussion at the next meeting will be pretty
Okay.
simple.
Does that
I
help you
don't
that
think
way,
you
Bob?
need to be.
Yeah, I mean, I live here in town, so I can easily stop by and pick it up, or, you know,
Yeah.
whatever, it's no big deal.
Well, still, 6:30 at night. Yeah, I don't think you need to come to the next meeting. I'm not in a position to say, yeah, go ahead.
Right, I mean, I'm not trying to pull the wool over the eyes, but I mean, I've been in surveying since '03, and that's the same document that's, you know, that's been in
Oh, yeah.
place
Yeah.
through the county since then, and.
Yeah,
I mean,
I mean, I was a planner before I became an attorney,
Right.
so I know the document, I just want to make sure. Okay.
I'll second Doug's motion.
Any further discussion?
None.
All those in favor? Aye, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Liaison reports, first solicitor report,
Nothing that's not on the
emergency management coordinator. Don, do you?
I guess that's me,
Do you
yeah.
have a?
We had a couple storms, and there was trees and limbs in the road. That's out a little bit, nothing serious. That last water we had, Penn's Cave did open one gate, and I could see the water coming up out here, but there was no problem. He opened it slow, and there was no problem. And I really didn't say anything, so it didn't get blown out of proportion like it did the last time. Because I knew there was no dangers or nothing like that. They were in contact with me, and, you know, everything was fine. So. And that's about all I have, I think.
Don, would you mind joining us up here? We would like to give you something. You guys wanna? Don? For those of you that don't know, Don has been serving Gregg Township in an emergency management capacity for 47 years, is what I'm told, since 1972. So Don has resigned pending Jim Smith coming on.
So we wanted to present this plaque to you from the Board of Supervisors, recognizing you for your service to the township. So, thank you. We get a picture with us.
And you guys, we gotta have a good picture here, okay? Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. Good job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Also on the topic of emergency management coordinator, we appointed Jim Smith as the emergency management coordinator last meeting. We have also had Domer Smeltzer submit his letter of interest and his certifications for being the assistant emergency management coordinator. I know you've already looked at those. So I will entertain a motion to appoint Domer Smeltzer as assistant emergency management coordinator.
Yeah, I talked with Jim Smith about this, and he feels they can work well together, and he's on board, so it's going to be a good relationship. I'll make the motion, and we appoint Domer Smeltzer as assistant emergency management coordinator.
I would agree with Doug, so I'll second his motion.
Any further discussion?
Not here.
None here.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion carries unanimous. Thanks, Jim and Domer. We appreciate you volunteering to take this over. Greg Township Fire Company?
I've been out of town since last weekend, just got back this afternoon. Other than what I have rumored, I think Dawn might be able to fill us in a little bit better.
What's that about?
The fire company?
Oh, okay. I don't know that much about it. I do know that last Friday could have been a real disaster around here in two different ways. And that, to me, is not acceptable for the community of Gregg Township. I think we deserve better than that. So that's about all I have to say. That could have really been bad last Friday.
Tell us what could have been bad, sorry.
Oh, well, they had a fire over here. Thanks to Center Hall Chief Ward 3 and Doug and Pam, and them took fire extinguishers over, and they held it to the kitchen area, and they were able to get it out. And when I heard that, my heart sank, because I knew what could happen, because that is an old building over there, very old, and it could have been a real disaster. And then we had a little problem with the one truck, which could have been somebody getting hurt or killed, and that's not good either. So, but I think that was basically, I'm not sure, I think that was maybe failure of a piece of equipment that we had got. And I don't know, from what I understand, it's probably, maybe Jim knows more, it should be over in.
It's over Twix. What happened is, it was in gear, which you have to have it in gear, on the pump. And there's a fork, it shifts it from the dry shaft to the pump, up to about 1200 RPM. The pump kicked out, it hit the dry shaft. Had emergency brakes on, the parking brake. It overrode that parking brake. I went in, down the Klein Road, and caught the guide wire, broke a telephone pole. So, that's where we're at. We had Vicks over then Friday night after it happened, and in the fire hall, they went through a series of tests on it. Most of them were all right. Finally, the one time on maybe 6 or 7, it acted up. There's a shifting fork. The fork wasn't engaging apparently the whole way, and that's what happened.
Are you guys still looking at that, and that engine is what you're going to continue trying to get repaired for operation? Or are you considering the engine that existed before repaired?
Don't know yet. The guide
he does have bingo, I believe, next Friday. Old Greg School Advisory Board report.
YMCA and Old Greg School Community Fest is June 15th, 10 to 5. We have 20 vendors so far for the Old Greg School, 1 food truck. And the Old Greg board is in a school, and we're having a pie booth. We're going to be selling pie. So if anybody wants to donate pies, you can drop them off after 9 o'clock in the morning at the OGS. We also support purchasing 6 to 8 picnic tables for the ball field pavilion. Estimates are needed to repair the steps at the south side of the gym. Gary Horner repaired the one set 5 years ago, and there's 1 or 2 little spots that's starting to pop off. I'd like to get that fixed before it gets worse. And the one on the other set of steps is getting bad, and I want to get it fixed before it gets really bad. And the East Penns Valley Women's Club will be donating $150 to the OGS board for doing maintenance on the fountain. For the Old Greg School Community Fest, there's going to have to be a letter written to the fire police. I think we should have fire police up here for directly across the road up here from the bridge across. And Skip Hockenberry is the chief of the fire police.
You're gonna take care of writing that letter?
Yeah, you want to go ahead and approve that at this meeting? Normally, we have to approve the fire police being mobilized. So we could, I would make a motion to approve the fire police for the event for the YMCA and Old Greg School. Yes, I'll write a letter.
I'll second the motion.
Any further discussion?
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Were you looking for approval for just outright purchasing the picnic tables, or are you going to look for donations?
Well,
for that?
Doug was gonna check around, see what kind of prices we could get on tables.
Yeah, in that regard, I called Home Depot, and they're getting tables, but they're not in yet. So I don't have the information there, but I can check with some other sources too. It'd be tough to beat their price, though, I think, if it's what it was last year. But I will continue to check.
Is that something you want us to put out, looking for donation,
You know,
monetary donations for
monetary
picnic tables?
donations for the picnic tables at the pavilion, at the ball field.
Before we get too far away from the fire company, is the fire company holding a parade this year? Yes.
I don't know.
And approve fire police for that too. I'll make a motion, we approve the fire police for the fire company parade. I don't know, what's the date of that?
And I believe they go to other ones as well. Can we roll that
Oh, I
in?
don't know what the other ones are.
I don't either at this point.
If we know
Yeah,
what they
wasn't,
are.
don't,
We usually do a
A
list,
blanket.
Yes.
yeah, but I don't see a list this year.
How would we do that, David?
Yeah, the carnivals first should be the August 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, parade ought to be the 1st.
it's usually just fire police for the Penns Valley companies, right?
And they helped over in Riversburg, I believe, on occasions.
Get a list for next month.
Yeah. You
I'm
want,
sorry?
I would get a list for next month.
Okay.
will there be any before
All
that?
right.
Will be any in, like Memorial Day?
Are there,
I can talk to Skip, see if he knows if anything coming up, what other carnivals and stuff they all have.
I just don't know.
I think your earliest one's gonna be, the one's before Reversburg. Fullsburg's the only one that's in Memorial Day weekend.
Yeah, but are there any at the beginning of June, because our meeting,
It's on 13th, 14th. That'll be no lines.
Is that no lines?
that would be the night of our meeting. So,
You don't need to do, I mean, you could just pass a blanket motion.
Other years, what they did is just, when
motion to approve the fire police for
The fire
the local
parades.
fire parades.
Right, when necessary for the fire parade.
I'll make that motion. I mean, maybe a blanket coverage for the need for fire police the rest of this year. That sounds
Okay,
sufficient.
I will second the motion, yeah.
Any further discussion?
None.
All those in favor? Aye. Motion carries unanimous. And you're gonna get estimates for those steps?
You're going to get 3 estimates.
I'll get the estimates.
Anything else?
For the
Or do you-
physical plant, yeah. This past Tuesday, Miller Electric ran a cable from the fire alarm system to the range hood in anticipation of connecting the fire suppression system to the fire alarm system. Tomorrow, Susquehanna Fire Equipment Company will be here to make that connection between the fire alarm system and the fire suppression system. Miller Electric was kind enough to lend us their lift truck over the weekend, and with that, I painted the flagpole and replaced the flag rope with steel cable on Saturday. I think that's all I have.
Anything about OGS from you, Pam? No. Code Enforcement Agency, Mike is not here. He sent out his report. There were just a few complaints, the typical ones that are on there. EMS. This past month, we had 67 call-outs, 18 of which were to Gregg Township, the largest being Potter Township with 19, so we weren't far behind. Do have some bad news. We are down 3 part-time employees due to their educational workload. 1 left for an internship over the summer. 1 is enrolled in nursing school, and the other is in Colorado for school. One of our full-time employees also just started 6 weeks of maternity leave. So unfortunately, the station had to go dark for several hours because there aren't volunteers to fill those slots. We did have an emergency meeting of the board of directors on April 30th to discuss that scenario and tried to brainstorm ideas on how to attract more volunteers. We also created an EMR position so that we could attract more folks and then train them hopefully into certified EMTs, kind of moving them up the ladder. As far as ending on a good note, we did get 14 more memberships, so that's good news. And for you folks, Denny Faust should be reaching out to you from Potter Township. Rod Beard, our solicitor, will be making himself available to us in mid-June. So he's trying to coordinate all the township supervisors to be there to talk about options moving forward. Any questions?
No.
Thank you. Penns Valley Regional Planning Commission?
Yeah, the Penns Valley Regional Planning Commission met on April 15th at the Penns Valley Area High School, and they had a tour of the high school. Carrie and I could not attend, we were at Hershey. Also, I got a letter from the Center County Planning Office, and I'll just read part of it to you. This is about planning for the road to connect from the new interchange in Potter's Mills to Bollesburg. Center County Metropolitan Planning Organization is considering a proposed amendment to the 2019-2022 Center County Transportation Improvement Program. The amendment is to add $20 million in state funds for PennDOT to complete the preliminary engineering phase of the State College Area Connector. Again, that's the road between Potter's Mills and Bollesburg. There's a public meeting about this. That'll be held on May 15th. That's this coming Wednesday from 5:30 to 7:30 at the Mount Nittany Middle school. So if anybody's interested, you can go up there and get more information on it. That's all I have.
Planning Commission?
The planning commission met on Monday the 6th. We only really have one action item, which appears later in your agenda regarding the Joel Myers property. Planning commission recommended the approval of the replot of lots, which takes several lots, replotting them and reducing the number of lots in the end by 1. So the planning commission had recommended that approval. That's really the only thing on the planning commission side. I can speak maybe a little bit here to the internet thing, just real quickly. Certainly don't have all the answers to that, but should be aware that the county awarded a contract to a partnership under the name of WISP, I believe, WISP, which gave them space on the county towers, on the 911 tower, Center Hall, Woodward, I think those are the 2 positions. They gave them the opportunity then to develop a system that will more broadly reach the valley. The person behind that, Dave Gibbons, is one of the partners there, who was one of the persons who initiated the small system that we have here in Spring Mills. They are not any longer and have not been involved for that for a while. For anybody who knows of the problems that have been occurring with UNDI and the current system. But at any rate, they look to have better coverage. It's my understanding that they have installed some initial equipment on Center Hall at the tower already, and it looked to be able to put a system out to reach some areas by August, early or late. Beyond that, they're working to define how that will move forward. The wireless communication ordinance was just passed this evening in Gregtown, should help that cause along. Hopefully, topography remains the biggest problem and has been from the beginning, even within Gregg Township, as you know, it's all line of sight with the current system. So for those of you that can't see that little dish that's on top of the hill over here, they can't see you either, and of course they can't get the system. The potential here with this new ordinance might allow some smaller poles, similar to that telephone pole style things, to reach some of the lower valleys and areas that are hidden. So that's what's occurring. There is something on that. Is in no way connected to the governor's most recent thing. That was in advance of that. But I think the governor's most recent action might allow for further advancement and development of that same process. Okay.
Can we ask questions? How can we help the planning commission, if that's who should initiate our efforts under the new initiatives, the governor's new expansion? Is that something we ask the planning commission to initiate, is looking at that, or would we ask the supervisors, or do we?
Yeah, well, I think to your point earlier, the 2025 committee's vision, that was something they identified as something as a priority. The planning commission has obviously made it something of their priority as part of this ordinance. The supervisors have done the same. I'm not that familiar with, other than I read the same thing you read with what the governor came out with. But I think if this organization gets up and running and gets a program started, that might provide the base to be able to build with and then see if there's additional funding. I know that this group is reaching out and looking for grants and things of that nature, which there's quite a bit. There was recently a national announcement about the 5G thing and trying to get that further as well. So I think it's just going to be a process here.
Okay. Is there some way we can be kept apprised of that and assist?
Well, certainly as we're made aware of, anything that comes up, I think we'll certainly, try to get out and let everybody know what's happening. I think you're going to start to see more information from this organization, obviously, as they look to gain customers.
This is WISP?
Yeah, this was.
Where, WISP is centered where?
I believe they're out of the State College area, but I don't know for sure. There was an article about that also appeared back, I want to say maybe in early April. It was in the CDT that provides some of that information. I know they do have a website up because I spoke with one of them maybe 2 weeks ago, and they said they already had 50 or 60 inquiries, people interested in service. Thank you.
We can act on that replot now, the recommendation from the planning commission. We'll entertain Tri-Park, do you have any report, Joel?
I've sort of been out of commission for a couple months, but I'll give you kind of an update. The park is applying for several grants right now for future. Seeding is nearly completed on the first quadrant that we developed over the last year. And I know it's going to look a little rugged after this last rain we had, but the seeding is nearly completed, and of course it'll have to be touched up as needed. The park was involved in Center Gives. I don't know what results we got from that, but we were involved in that. We're looking for several alternative locations on the park where we had established sod for youth football and youth soccer this fall, and we're in the process of doing that right now. Some of that, if it's not too rough, may be able to serve for this fall until the fields. I don't see any way the fields are going to be ready to play on this fall. We can't take a chance on ruining that seating until it's well established. So, any questions?
Water and Sewer Authority, there's no report. So we'll move on to Secretary Treasurer's report, and I'll entertain a motion to approve the April 11th, 2019 Board of Supervisors meeting minutes.
I don't make that motion.
Yeah, I'll second the motion.
Any further discussion?
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimous. I'll entertain a motion to accept and approve the all funds financial report.
I'll make the motion.
I will second that.
Any further discussion?
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries unanimous. Right to know officers report.
Okay. As you all know, or you can read, we've had a little bit more of the right to know requests. One thing I have received, and I was asked to present it to the board tonight, is from the Borough of West Easton Council, and I believe I gave everybody a copy there. It's a resolution to amend the right to know law and provide relief from vexatious requesters. They are passing this along to us, wanting us to jump on board with them.
I think that's something we can review and put on the agenda for next meeting.
Yeah.
There was a question earlier about the right to know law matters in the past month. As you know, I usually don't think it's the best use of time to go through everything that happened in the past month. But, given the question, we had a hearing on April 17th for a motion for reconsideration relating to one of the right to know law appeals, this one involving internet browsing history of township computers. The ultimate decision on that case is pending. The really only substantive court ruling that I believe we've received since the last meeting was on a request for emails to from Solicitor David Gaines, all email accounts for a certain period of time. The court ruled in the township's favor. I don't think, there are other right to know law requests have been filed and responded to, appeals have been filed and responded to. Those are the two from, a court level that come to mind tonight. The writ of mandamus is an ongoing matter. As we mentioned at the last month's meeting, the court found in the township's favor. There was an appeal filed since the last month's meeting, and we will respond to that in due course.
Any other comments on the right to know report? Roadmasters report?
Tomorrow we have a meeting with PennDOT and I believe the contractors that are doing the Lower Georges Valley Bridge project, so hopefully, we'll know a little bit more about that, and hopefully that will start soon. A few other questions I had for you guys. I don't know that we have an agreement with, well, I don't exactly know who we have an agreement with as far as municipalities. Since I've been here, every year we've gotten coal patch and then just sold that to Millheim Borough or used stuff from theirs, of theirs in return. And we never really, I don't know if there's like an agility agreement with them or not. Are we supposed to keep doing that or what? I know we have used stuff of theirs in the past, not frequently, but on the grand scheme of things, I mean, we get back what we have in it and nothing for our time or wear and tear on our stuff. So I think that's something that needs to be looked into. And Haynes Township asked us to borrow our roller here in the near future too, so I don't know if there's something like some kind of blanket motion you guys can make if we're gonna do stuff with other municipalities, or what the deal is on that.
We do have an agreement with Penn, right? And
One of them, I'm not sure.
And Potter also?
They don't do nothing.
Center Hall
with us.
Borough?
Is this some sort of physical
Yeah.
agreement on paper that we have in a file somewhere? So
Yeah, there should be, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what that is.
Okay, well, if we know where it's filed, we can get out and look at it.
I will look.
So with Haynes asking to borrow something, we need to decide whether we do an agreement with them as well, because I don't believe we have one with them.
Yeah.
No, we don't. Or, I don't think we do. We've never borrowed nothing from them before. They've never borrowed anything from us before.
Penn Township, they let us use their grader when all the work was being done on
Yeah, Penn Township we've done stuff with, Center Hall Borough we've done stuff with, and a little bit Millheim Borough too. Another thing with Haynes Township, until I took a CDL test, I asked about him using their truck, which is a manual transmission, so he didn't have to have the automatic stipulation on there.
Yeah.
And they said that if we wanted to go that route, we were gonna have to pay for their guy for the whole day.
Yeah.
So,
And now they're asking us
and
to
now they're asking
borrow
us for
our
something, so.
Well, I'm all for cooperation with other municipalities and, you know, I mean, I think if we have agreements with them, we should do that. You never know what might happen, especially in an emergency or something. We might need to.
So we would need to create one with Haynes,
Yeah.
with the understanding that
Yeah.
if they're gonna ask us for stuff,
Yeah,
they also need to.
well, yeah,
Yeah.
of course, yeah.
Did they say how long they needed something like that, Brandon?
Like a week or something, I mean, it wasn't much.
I mean, my opinion is, we ought to send one of our operators with, but that cuts you way short time.
Yeah.
I mean, we borrow equipment, I mean, we borrow Center Hall's chipper and
Yeah.
stuff like that without them having to operate, but
I would
think
have to
that-
agree with Doug. I think we should have something so we can kind of work together, but it's kind of a two-edged sword because they didn't want to help us.
So do we wanna approve pending them signing,
I would say yes, we should.
so that we're not holding them up from what
Right.
they need to do either? I'll entertain a motion to approve loaning the equipment to Haynes pending signing of a mutual, what would you call it?
Mutual.
Mutual
Yeah,
agreement.
yeah.
That's it.
I will make that motion.
I'll second the motion.
Any further discussion?
None.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Right now, we're kind of in the middle of our Veneta Gap Gravel Road project, with the fill coming in, and we got a couple more pipes to put in, then it's gonna be coated with 2A on top, so bear with us. We're trying to make things better up there. It's gonna be a little bit of an inconvenience for a while, but we're trying. kind of been acting up a little bit of late. Every now and again in the morning it shifts a little bit rough, automatic transmission. Once it warms up, it's fine. It did it the other day to us, and it wouldn't move at all. And then after that, it was fine again. It didn't really do anything. I called over to Schreffler's in Milesburg, the transmission shop, and they said it would be, they thought it would be a front input drum, which in order to fix that, it's going to be, they're going to rebuild the tranny while they're in there. So you're looking at a couple $1,000s at some point. But after talking with Brush Mountain and them, if they're going to have to rebuild it anyhow, we're just going to run it until it flies apart. Just hope it's not in a bad spot. So I just wanted to make you guys aware of that. And I guess the other item of bad news, the underground storage tanks. So they came to do more work to them to make them in compliance, and found that the lids were steel, and that is not legit according to DEP's regulations. So they gave us an outrageous quote, I thought, of $16,000 to bring our underground storage tanks up to compliance with DEP's regulations. So we called another outfit that we met at Hershey and had to kiss their butt pretty much to get an estimate too. And theirs come back at $17,200.
They originally made it sound like it was going to be way less than what DMS came up with,
Yeah.
and then came back with something.
But
high.
the other options, so to bring it up to compliance, that's what that option is. But the other options we had was to pull those out. They have to be pulled out. That's DEP mandated.
When you say pull out, the tanks have to be removed?
Yep, you can't leave them there. The water needs to be tested, the dirt needs to be tested, and it needs to be sent somewhere to get disposed. Even if we do that by ourselves with our backhoe, you're still looking at $5,000, and that's to cancel the registration on the tank and taking care of everything, even if we do that ourselves. We can put in an above ground storage tank, of which DMS told us, the company that we're working with, was still subject to every 3-year inspections, and it had to have a concrete pad underneath it, and it had to have bollards every 4 foot around it so cars didn't hit it. Well, upon both of these quotes being ridiculous, I called to the North Central office of DEP in Williamsport, and I got a hold of a fellow, and he more or less said that that was a bunch of crap, and he said that there's going to be a lot of new regulations possible in December anyhow on these underground tanks. His personal advice would be to get rid of them if we could. He said that the above ground tanks, he said under 1,100 gallons, as long as they're not used for resale, are not subject to DEP inspection or registration. They don't have to be on a concrete pad, and they don't have to have the bollards, some of which would be a good idea. But, so that was kind of the route he suggested to head. I guess there's a couple different routes we can head, it all depends on what direction you guys want to go. We can either fix the existing system that we have now, which I'm not really in favor of, or we can do an above ground tank for diesel. We don't have a whole lot of gas stuff, so we can maybe get a small skid tank for that, if necessary at some point. Or we can get a skid tank right now and put diesel fuel in it until we explore some other options and see, rip the tanks out of the ground, get a diesel fuel skid tank, and go that route until we get more pricing and figure out what we want to do as far as a permanent fix. I called a couple different places. A single wall 500 gallon skid tank's about $962. So double wall, they said it's about double that. So $2,000 for a skid tank. And for a 1,000-gallon above ground tank, it's $4,500 to $5,500 double wall tank. So, we can save ourselves, which, the only thing that we really need a person there for, a certified person, is to pull the old tank and to sample the soil and the water. Other than that, we can do everything ourselves and save a lot of money. But when you start doing that, then you're pulling us from the other stuff we gotta do too, so.
Well, it sounds to me like a skid tank is a temporary supply for diesel. So you have time to determine what the best way to go is until,
Well, another problem is our room. I mean, we pull those tanks out, and 3 feet under the surface, there's groundwater.
yeah.
I told the guy, I said, so the guys that were doing work the other day, said, where do you propose we put an above ground tank? He said, well, right on top of it. I said, well, what are you gonna backfill that with? And he said, well, 2 Bs or 1 Bs or something. I said, so you're gonna make a sump, a permanent sump underneath your pad? I said, that sounds real smart. And he's like, well, you can put 2A in. I said, yeah, you compact that, and then you're gonna have a swamp there. So, I don't really like the idea of putting a tank where the existing one was, so we're gonna have to explore some other options. I don't know what the best answer is right now on that, but if we put up a temporary skid tank of some sort that we can keep fuel and, you know, keep operating until we get some more pricing and maybe explore some other things a little bit more. But I think, in my personal opinion, I think the underground tanks need to go. That's my personal opinion. We